welcome back to the Football Rundown. We're back here with a match preview today. Stockport County take on Wycombe Wanderers this weekend for our first away trip of the 25-26 League One season. We're facing a Wycombe side which just fell short of promotion themselves last season to the Championship via the playoffs. The Chairboys had a difficult second half to the season last season when they lost manager Matt Bloomfield to then Championship side Luton Town. Now Wycombe only lost 3 matches from their first 23 in the league last season, and they lost 7 in the second half of the season. So a poor second half of the season arguably pushed them out of the automatic spots, because they did hold that position for the majority of the first half of the season. They were one of the favourites to go up automatically before really tailing off in form in the second half of the season. And then of course Wrexham taking their spot and going up to the Championship. Now Wycombe started the new 25-26 League One season in losing fashion when they lost 2-1 to League One newcomers Bradford City. And former county man Anthony Sarcevic put Bradford in front within the first 5 minutes, I think the first 6 minutes, helping towards Graham Alexander's side securing a 2-1 win on opening day. So this is how the League One table looks after match day 1. Of course, Huddersfield's 3-0 thrashing at home to Leyton Orient means League Rank's side sits top after match day 1. Second place Barnsley picked up what might be considered a surprising 3-1 victory over recently relegated Plymouth Argyle. This came despite defender Jack Shepherd seeing red at home park within 63 minutes on the clock. Wigan, Lincoln, Stevenage, Bradford, Burton, Cardiff, Rotherham United, Doncaster Rovers, Luton and of course County all picked up 3 points on opening day, meaning it was a weekend of all or nothing with no side being drawn level. Now of course County had some decent away form last season. I think they won 9 games away from home in League One last season, and we're looking to start with a win away from home this season with a win against Wycombe this weekend. Now obviously we beat Wycombe last time out. I think it was goals from Anderson, Norwood and Will Collar in a second half comeback, and I think was the second to last game of the season actually. So last game of the regular season at least. So obviously we've been there recently. The same with Leyton Orient where we go next weekend as well. And County did get off to a winning start against Bolton at Edger Park last Sunday. It wasn't the most convincing performance though, I think it's fair to say. I think in the first half Bolton missed some great opportunities to put themselves ahead. And Bolton just did not take their chances. And I think I said it in the in sort of the wrap up of the match vlog that we just sort of held in. We rode our luck a little bit with Bolton not taking those chances, and we fully took advantage of that. The way we got that goal just on the brink of half time, as I say, that Norwood shot tapped in by Malik Mothersill, who by his own admission said he didn't feel like he had the best of first games, but he got on the goal, got on the goal scoring chart, so that's the most important thing. County showed a lot of resilience in that game, and they showed a lot of signs of a potential champion, winning comfortably with a clean sheet when you've not played your best. And I think some people have said this as well, that that's the kind of performance that when you're in the latter end of the season and you're fighting at the top, that's the kind of game you need, where you're not necessarily always going to be your best, but you're able to pick up a result. And County did just that on opening day. Now, was it disappointing with all the hype, looking forward to the new season? It being pushed back to Sunday as well, making us all wait, and then finally the season's here and we put in a first half performance like that. Was it a little bit disappointing? Yes, of course it was. But I tell you what, once we got those 2 goals and we kept a clean sheet, and you're coming out of the ground with a 2-0 win on opening day and 3 points in the bag, there's no complaints from my point of view. It was a really, really pleasing match in the sense that we managed to get a result despite not being at our best. And I think sometimes last season we lacked it at times. I think we got it a little bit going at the end of the end of last season, but I think we lacked it at moments maybe in the middle of the season, because I thought we started really well. Last season we had a sort of difficult period, maybe sort of December, maybe early January time, and then after that we kind of got going again. So it was only really a month or two where we dropped off, but that's enough to to push you out of the automatics. So we can't really allow that to happen too much this season if we want to go up automatically. And it's performances, or not necessarily performances, but it's games like that where you get a result when not playing at your best, that if we can replicate that more often, then I think we've got a very good chance. Now obviously we want to be able to play well and dominate games as well, and I'm sure we've got that in our locker, because we also saw that at times last season as well. But I think the one thing we want to work on this season is getting results when we're not necessarily playing at our best. And like I say, I think we saw signs of that a little bit at the back end of last season. But I think that hopefully we'll see it from the get-go this season, and it will stand us in good stead to hopefully be in the automatic spots. Now, obviously, County were always better in the second half as well, usually. I think back to some of the games last season when we were coming back. I think it was like Rotherham. There's a period of time where we played Rotherham at home, Burton at home around that period of time, and I think it might have been Huddersfield at home, and we always had better second halves a lot of time in those period of times. So we generally do peak in the second half. That isn't unusual, and we certainly did that on Sunday. But I do think that going into a game on Saturday against Wycombe, obviously away from home, it's their first home game of the season. They've lost an opening day. They'll be eager to sort of prove a point, and also they'll want to prove a point after us getting a result against them last time as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult one. I think, as I'd expect every League One game to be fair. But it'll be interesting to see what the team news is. It was interesting to see what the team news was on Sunday. We had a few names missing, obviously due to injury, but also one with Benno Anderson, and I've not necessarily heard what the situation is with him. I've not heard anyone say it was an injury. When I watched Chauner's press, sort of post-match interview, I've not seen him say that afterwards. But then the question wasn't asked, I don't think, unless I skipped around that a bit. So I'm not sure what's happening with Anderson. I'm going to assume it's maybe a small knock. But obviously, we've got Nathan Lowe anyway, so it's not like we haven't got options up top. And of course, Cal Wotton got off to a goal-scoring start anyway. So, I think we'll see the same starting 11, to be honest. I think if we're going to go into the team news, I think it will be a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, however you look at it. I think it will be Adai in goal, who of course got man the match on the Sunday. And I don't think you can really argue with that, because I thought that he made some good stops. And to be fair, I don't want to say he kept us in the game, because I think some of Bolton's chances they missed, they weren't even on target. But he certainly played a part in the win, and obviously it was a good performance from him on opening day, especially when you think about where we were maybe 12 months ago with him and how the crowd were with him. To hear his sort of name being sung throughout Edgeley Park, certainly through the Cheadle end on Sunday, it's a sign of how far we've come in 12 months, and I suppose it's vindication, I suppose, for the signing. That with perseverance, we constantly believed he was the right goalkeeper, or the recruitment team, or the sort of coaching staff and the manager did, and they've stuck with him. Obviously a bit of luck along the way as well in terms of Hinchliffe getting injured, sort of middle of last season, middle of the second half of last season. But he come in, he come in and took that spot, and he performed really well. And as I say, it was no different on Sunday. So brilliant for him. I thought Corey O'Keefe and Dodson did really well in terms of coming in as two new players, particularly Dodson as well, who'd come in the same week that we're preparing to play Bolton. I think we'll see the same wing backs or full backs again. Obviously Connolly and Pye, as the two centre backs. I thought Connolly did all right, to be fair. I was unconvinced by him last season, but he's been thrown into deep end a little bit with a starting spot on opening day, and I think we'll see that continue right up until I think we can ease Joseph Olowu into that starting 11. Norwood was unbelievable on Sunday, captain's armband as well on his 50th appearance. He's going to start in that midfield, I believe, alongside Owen Moxon and Callum Camps, or maybe Camps slightly further forward, however you look at it, however you sort of interpret that formation. Then what interested me was, I think when I go back to the preview last week, I had Malik Mothersill on the left and I had Jack Diamond on the right. And when I actually was at the game on Sunday and I was watching it, I saw it the other way around. I saw Mothersill down the right and Diamond more often than not down the sort of left, and obviously Wotton down the middle. So I think that's the kind of team I think we'll go with, exactly the same 11 unchanged. Don't change a winning team really unless you really have to, unless there's injuries that come into it. Second game of the season, there's no need to really make any changes, and I think we'll see a similar bench as well until players come back from injury. My thoughts on this: I think Stockport County are going to win this one. I think we're a better team than Wycombe. I think we showed that at the back end of the last season, and I don't think much has changed massively or dramatically over the summer to have changed that really. I think if anything, Wycombe have probably got slightly weaker. I think Richard Coney's he's on his way out if he's not already. So I think it's going to be a tougher season for Wycombe than it was last season. I'd love to get any Wycombe fans' thoughts on that if they are watching. Do you think it's going to be a tougher season for you guys than it was last season, or do you think you're still capable of being in the playoffs or potentially getting automatics this season? Want to get your thoughts on that one, of course. But Stockport County in a very strong position, it looks like, and of course Getting that win over a team like Bolton, who Chalmers spoke very highly of pre-match, when we're still kind of struggling for depth with injuries, you know, I can't imagine what it's going to look like when we have hopefully the majority of our squad back. But it is interesting with the injuries, isn't it? It seems that once again we've gone into another season, a couple of injury issues. Some of them were already injured before they come in, and obviously some of them we've signed and they've not really had a pre-season. I kind of get that. And don't get me wrong, this injury situation isn't as bad as last season, where I think we had maybe 10, 11 players out. And I remember we played Blackburn in the Cup and we couldn't put any first-team players out because we had to save them for Blackpool. It's nowhere near as bad as that, but it's still another season that we're going into with injury issues. And it surprises me, considering that it felt like this season we had far less pre-season games. So I'd love to know what the situation is there, but I don't think I'm the only one. I think everyone at Stockport County, whether you're not a fan, whether or not you work within the football club, I think everyone's trying to figure out how these injuries are coming about. But obviously, like I've just sort of said, some of these injuries are different to the ones we've had in the past. These are players that have already picked up injuries beforehand, certainly in the case of Joseph Holloway, for example. But yeah, I still think we can put out a strong enough team to go to Wycombe on Saturday and pick up a win, especially given the fact that they lost to Bradford on opening day. Yes, away from home, but really, I sort of look at it and I look at the drop off for them in the second half of last season, and I go, I think we should be winning this game, to be honest. Certainly shouldn't be losing it. That's the expectation putting on us, because we're expected to be getting hopefully promoted this season. So I think we've got to go and get a win. I think we will go and get a win. I think we'll make it difficult for ourselves in the first half, a bit like against Bolton on Sunday. But I think that we'll see a second half sort of turnaround, and I think that will hopefully secure 3 points for us. So I am going to go with a 2-1 Stockport County win. That's my prediction. What are your thoughts on that one? Of course, I also want to get your thoughts on the new third kit as well, which of course I'd imagine will be debuting on Saturday against Wycombe away. I'm not a massive fan of it. This new green kit, to be fair, from Puma, and I'm not entirely sure when the Puma deal's up, but I wouldn't be opposed to it being up after this season, to be honest. I think if it was said this is going to be the last sort of Puma kit for Stockport County, I'd probably say I'm excited to see what's next, because in terms of kits, I think it's been a relatively poor season for kits. I'm a huge fan of the home one. I'm not a massive fan of the away one, which in my opinion could even be a home one as well, to be honest. And I'm not a massive fan of the green one. In fact, I actually think the green one's the worst one out of the three of them. And it's probably making me appreciate the other two now after seeing that one. But that's just my thoughts on it. So I want to get your thoughts on, of course, the game on Saturday. Also, any thoughts that you might have on our performance from Bolton on last Sunday, if you still want to talk about that. But of course, we get your thoughts on the kit as well. And obviously, everyone has different sort of preferences. Some people don't really care about the kit. Some people care more than others. But and I'm not that bothered. It's not a great kit. I'm just, it's one of those where maybe if it goes down to £10 sort of at the end of the season, I might pick it up. But I don't plan on getting it myself, and I'm not a huge fan of it. But hopefully it gives us a bit of luck, and hopefully it gives us a win, or contributes towards a win against Wycombe, this upcoming Saturday. So yeah, I want to get your thoughts on that game. Of course, I want to get your thoughts on the starting 11. Who do you think will start the game? Do you think we need to make any changes? Do you think we should make any changes before that game on Saturday? Or would you be in the mind of thinking, don't change your winning team? I want to get your thoughts on that, of course. Score prediction as well. And anything you want to talk about in terms of Stockport County, do get your thoughts in the comment section below as always. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. So make sure you like the video. And as always, thanks for watching.